how do you work on continuing to work on the ego, be aware, all of that kind of stuff?
I talk about it with business owners. We started, this is like one of those things that have been on a shelf for 2, 3 years. So we started this thing for clients called the Growth Hub. It's a client portal. And the first couple things are perception and ego.
Hello, business human. Are you a misfit? A person who wants to make a difference in this business world? Are you one of the unconventional, the visionaries, the quiet innovators, the heart-centered leaders, the purpose-driven, the community builders, the givers? Then you are my people. I used to think business was a secret formula to be discovered and followed, but now I know it isn't a set of rules. It's an exciting, creative adventure. And I want to be on that adventure with you. I am your lady of business, Melody Edwards. Welcome to the Business Misfits podcast. Hello, BizFit. It is I, Melody, your lady of business. And today I am talking with Shawn Day. Shawn is co-founder of Hire Lead Chill, a recruitment agency that specializes in helping you find really great employees for your company. And we talk a lot about that because that's what I do too. We do it differently. We have different kinds of businesses, but I really enjoy talking to other people who share my values when it comes to the recruitment business. We're both very much employee first, and we have a lot of good things to share about that. A couple of years ago, I was at a conference and I saw Shawn talk, and you know that experience when you hear somebody on the stage and you are so aligned, you're on the same page, you totally get it, you're excited because you see that somebody understands things the way that you do, and maybe the rest of the audience isn't quite there, but you are. Well, that was me, because Shawn and I really share so many of the values and principles that we talk about. We really focused a lot on ego, perception, and awareness, something that I really love talking about, even though sometimes it can be uncomfortable. I love uncomfortable conversations. I think we did a good job of not making it uncomfortable. And we also talk about how we can't live in a gray world. It has to be technicolor. So I think there's plenty of things in this conversation you're going to find interesting. And I hope that you enjoy my conversation with Shawn Day. Shawn Day, welcome to the Business Misfits. I'm really excited that you are here. I really am. You would have been the first male guest that I've had, but you're the second because you got sick. So,
Yeah, that's true.
But that's okay. You're one of my favorite people in my business world. And I don't know, I just really relate to who you are as a person, and I appreciate you. So thank you for coming here.
Absolutely. I couldn't wait. As soon as I heard the Misfit podcast was around the corner, I couldn't wait. I listened to them all, and I can't wait to see where we rock and roll here.
Yeah. Well, as you know, the first question I always ask is, do you feel like you're a business misfit?
Boy, that's a great question. Yes. There's a little bit of exterior confidence, but a lot of inward awkwardness and wondering, and mind's goofy and fighting battles internally to make sure nobody knows I'm doing that externally. Yeah, but I still get shit done, and I still enjoy life and business, and I'm growing all the time, and sometimes I fall down, and sometimes I don't like that, but sometimes I don't mind that. Yeah, there's a lot of misfit in me. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think of you as a misfit. I don't think everybody who comes on here has to be a misfit necessarily, but so far everybody has said that they think they're a misfit, except for Kurt Kempton, who in the beginning said, I don't think I'm a misfit. I'm like, literally, you are the epitome of a business misfit. He got there eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Kurt's a misfit.
Well, how did you get into business and this business world?
So I guess my first entrepreneurial, if I said that right.
Why can't we ever say that word? I'm the same. Entrepreneurial.
I can't spell it. I can't say it. But I am it. Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But we are that. Literally in high school, or in college, I had 3 jobs. Took me 6 years to pay for myself to get through college. So I sold like press-a-light things and shorts to bookstores and pizza places. I typed. Yep, I'm that old. There were no computers when I was in college. So I typed the school paper. I learned to type because my wrestling coach in high school was the typing teacher so that he could be a wrestling coach. And we had a bet, and I told him I'd learn how to type. Actually, I don't even know what it was. So I can type phenomenally well. And that was sort of like the first bunch. And then I got a good job at Enterprise Rent a Car, got promoted super quick from the rental counter into fleet leasing, they called it, or fleet management, where I pounded the phone as a 23-year-old kid from Cleveland, Ohio, in the Motor City, Detroit, and telling a bunch of 60-year-old people that I know how to do car stuff better than them. And I was good at it, but hated it. I hated making 100 phone calls a day. I loved getting in front of people and selling and stuff. But it was one of the biggest privately held companies in the country at the time. So there was a lot of politics that came into it. The general manager started yelling at a bunch of the salespeople. I had a sales meeting like 6 o'clock in the morning that morning. I come in at like 7:30. I'm like, where is everyone? The GM is like literally belittling. I mean, words like football coach words, man,
Yeah.
to all the salespeople. And I'm just like, and he'd go around yelling at and he'd look at me and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you don't take customers to lunch enough. And I'm just like, Mike, I'm going to go pound the phone. You want to talk with me? I'll meet you anywhere at 6 p.m. tonight. You want to talk right now? You're wasting my time. And I quit a week later because I couldn't.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. If I think of Dante's Inferno, where my inferno would be having to make phone calls all day, like
Yeah, not
every
fun.
day for the rest of my life. That would be horrible. So, but I bet you learned a lot during that time.
Yeah, and Enterprise was a great company. It was just one person. I learned an awful lot. I had a lot of fun. Hanging out with a bunch of salespeople is fun when you're young. And I did. I learned an awful lot about financial stuff and numbers and all that good stuff. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Like, were you always a natural salesperson?
Yes, always, always. Again, I had a lot of so like my parents split when I was young. My mom had 4 kids, and she had 3 jobs. I used to go to her restaurant and help her clean on Sundays. Yep, cleaning on a Sunday when I was like 8. Things like that. And so like I had 2 older brothers that were sort of my father figure slash brothers, and they were like really mean, like big brothers should be. So like we were a pretty athletic family, big wrestling family, state wrestling and all this stuff, college. I mean, they were both like 10 years older than me and 8 years older than me, and they're huge. And like I was just getting help beat out of me all the time and called like Susie and, you're this, you're that. So I didn't have a ton of I was really good at some like wrestling, didn't like it that much though, but I was good at it, just like the sales thing. It's really weird being good at something and hating it at the same time.
Yeah. So wrestling's on my mind tonight because I am missing my son's wrestling meet
Uh,
per his request, actually, because he likes me being at football games, but I think I don't understand how you can be watched by like a whole auditorium of people, just you and this other guy, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And
it's insane. My senior year of high school, we won a state championship. So I wrestled in front of like 30,000 people.
yeah, that
That's
sounds
intense.
a
Yeah.
lot. And
Yeah.
he's not one that's not his dream either. So
Right. Right.
I think he's good at wrestling. He's only been doing it a couple of years. He's a big kid. So he's in the
Hmm.
top weight class, so he doesn't have to wear those steam,
Yeah.
what are they called? Like the I call it
Singlet.
a steam uniform. He can eat what he
It's a good
wants.
sport, though. It's a real good sport.
Yeah, I love wrestling. I found out more than any other sport because of how quick it is. If I go
Very.
to a meet, it's done in 45 minutes, at
You
least
bet.
at his school.
Yeah,
And football goes forever. So
it does.
I'm just to go off on that tangent. But I think going back to your sales background, as you know about me, I struggle with the morality of marketing and sales.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
really yeah, I don't know, it's really hard for me to figure out how to be okay with the fact that as humans, psychologically, we need to be sold to. Like, we
Yeah.
need to believe in the thing, and also, I don't wanna be the person who's telling people like, I don't wanna be the overconfident, charismatic person telling people what to buy. How do you do it in a way that? Because I obviously like you, and I think you're a very good person in business.
I mean, I think there's an ethical way and a caring way to do it. My view on sales, even back then when I was young, was, and I would, you'd pound the phone and say, "Hey, I'm Shawn from. Do you have any vehicles? If they had a certain amount of vehicles, we would qualify them, all that stuff. And if somebody was like, no, I'd be like, okay, see ya. Well, I was just like, I wasn't somebody that was like, well, wait a minute though, let me explain. It was none of that. It was like, I'm looking for the yes, and that was one way. And the other way I looked at it was I had two meetings. One was I just fact finding. All I did was ask questions. And you've probably heard this: salespeople talk too much; they don't listen enough. I learned that at a very young age. Okay, here's what's your problem. I don't know if I can solve it, but we'll find out. And it's really that simple. And there were times where I don't think this is going to work out. And so today, when I do demos for our recruiting service, I always tell somebody up front, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. And I've been accused of giving away the secret sauce on how to do things my last 8 years and 10 years of doing this. And I do. Here's how to do this. You can either pay us to do it or steal what you want, and I'll help you if I can. That's all.
Yeah, that's how I do it too. What I have learned as a consumer also, though, I want to know all the things. I want to understand how it works. I want to know exactly how I could do it, but then I'm not actually going to do it because I don't
Right.
have the time. And when I was younger, I would, and I had
Yeah.
less money, more time. But now I'm like, I'm just going to pay the expert to do the thing.
Yeah, I was the same way. I mean, I would get a hold of a vendor, learn, and then try it on my own, almost whatever it was. It could have been freaking, flying an airplane. It was just, I'm going to do this because I'm going to do it cheaper and I'll figure it out. It's like most of the time I definitely didn't do it well. And most of the time it was a waste of my time and money.
100%. I did that with this podcast in the beginning for at least 6 years. It was like, I'm going to start a podcast. And then I hired somebody to, and that's how I have a podcast to help
Yeah,
me do that.
I got drug into it. It was Platt and it's the
Well,
first
wait
time
a
I heard.
minute. Let's
Yeah.
make sure that
Okay.
people
Sure.
know that you have a podcast that you are on. Well, tell us what it is.
Sure. It's Hire Lead Chill, so we just named it after our business name. But basically, what we're doing is I'm a big believer that if you solve the employee side of your business, you've solved 95% of your stress and problems, and you'll be able to grow with some peace. It's that simple. So, recruiting, retaining them, and just chill out. Figure if you can figure that out. We haven't been in a climate where it's too difficult to get clients if you are willing to pay a little bit of money. I come across this where people pay a lot of money for marketing, but if you
Mm.
tell them to boost $300 to go find a producer that's going to produce $500,000 for your company, it's like pulling teeth. So I've worked really hard on changing that mindset to put the ego on the shelf. When you have somebody that is across from you at an interview table, your job is to sell them on who you are, what you stand for, and why they're going to wake up every day and love to come to work here. That's all.
Yeah, so back when I had my service companies way back, I was always really good with hiring. Well, I shouldn't say always. I got really good at hiring. We all make plenty of mistakes along the way. And I got better at being a leader, which was uncomfortable for me. And then culture building in the company became really important to me. And I realized that there's like the three components. You have to have a good way to get the employees to come to you. So you have to market to them. You have to have a good training system for them to be able to do well. And then you need to have a good culture for them to stay. And I love that we're so aligned in that view of recruiting and employees. And it makes all the difference as to whether you're going to be struggling all the time to keep up with your work or if you're going to be successful with that.
Couple things that I hear repetitively with business owners daily. One is that they just don't like going to their business anymore because Fred's there or Jane's there and they complain. It's like, dude, you own the business. You have the right to have great employees working for you. Okay. You don't have to. It's like we hate recruiting. I hate interviewing. Oh my gosh, these no shows are killing me. And it's like, I love no shows. I love no shows because that means I'm getting closer to a hire. So, right? Because you get just like any, give me a sentence with the word sales or marketing in it. I'll take those words out, put the word recruiting in there, and it works every single time. Yeah, I didn't mind no's when I was pounding that phone, man, because I knew eventually I'm getting closer and closer and closer to the yes. Same thing with recruit. No, no shows are here to stay, folks. I got news for you. They're just here to stay.
And I think no shows are great because they're showing you right up at the front end, that you don't need to worry about going through the process with them. But then also, I think you and I have both heard like nobody wants to work anymore.
Right.
I don't know about you, you might have a perspective on this, but I think nobody wants to work for the sake of working. I think people want more than just work and more than just money.
Big time. Yeah, there's a lot I can talk about on that. I'll break it down to number one. My daughter has been at a pizza place for 3 years. She's 16. She started there at 15. She's now going to be 18 in July. And she saved 10 or 11 grand in 2 years, okay, as a 16-year-old kid. Don't tell me people don't know how to work out there. Number one, okay. Plus, we place thousands of candidates at really good companies that own window cleaning, pressure washing, Christmas light, and all those companies all the time every year. That's number two. And number three is that a lot of the generation that we're looking to hire in the labor force we're in, okay, in this home service world that we've decided and chosen to be in, okay, a lot of them were the first generation of everybody gets a trophy, even for showing up. And I'm not judging any of this. I'm just telling you what reality is. They're the first ones where mom or dad didn't turn around and say, shut your mouth, look out the window, and I don't want to hear another word out of your mouth. Okay. Now it's here's a screen, watch a 2.5 hour movie, and I don't have to pay attention to you. Okay. Again, I'm not, that's just the reality. To your point, Melody, there has never been a bigger need for great leadership to show these people this is where you belong. Here's why you belong here. And this is why we're going to take care of you. And by the way, we pay as good as anybody else down the road. So come on in. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I think also on top of that, so I was raised to be a workaholic. Most of our generation was, and the whole thing was you're going to work really, really hard until you retire and die,
Yep.
essentially. But we never talked about what that meant or like what about life in between this. And I remember my younger brother, he's 15 years younger than me, just one time, this was probably more than a decade ago, being like, I don't want to be like you. I don't want to work my whole life just to like work.
Yep.
But also he's a workaholic now, but that's besides the point. But it made me mad, and then it made me realize like, yeah, why am I just working to work? Like there's so much more to life than just working. And as you know, I'm a very much purpose driven in terms of business. I have to feel a sense of purpose in what I do, or else it doesn't mean anything to me. There's a lot of people out there who feel the same way about their jobs. And the world has told them also that it's okay to feel that way, that they should feel a sense of purpose or passion for what they're doing. You can't always make people feel passion for the thing that they do. Like if it's my old company was window cleaning, I couldn't make people feel passion for window cleaning because even I didn't feel passion for that. But I felt passionate about the community fund that we established, where we would give away thousands and thousands of dollars and to nonprofits. Our customers loved it, our employees loved it, and it gave us all a shared sense of connection and purpose. And I think, the more that business owners look at it in terms of like we can complain about it or we can get on board because we're old now. We're the old people now who have the businesses. We have to get on board.
We're the kids where the parents were going, geez, oh, Pete, you people are the future leaders of the company, right? That's the other thing. This thing about the other generation not working and not being as good and this and that. Socrates had said that in a quote. So it's been
Right.
around a while, okay?
Forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been around a while.
Amazing.
So I get it, but I will tell you this, that the people I talk to, the business owners I talk to that go, I know the problem, but what's the solution? Are executing on their hiring needs almost without exception. And you know what the opposite of that is, the ones that can't get their mind off the problem of the no shows. And I've got clients that will get a hold of our account manager because I'll meet with her once a week. And why are we getting so many no shows? And I'm like, how many people did they hire? Well, four. Okay. In maid service, that equals about $300,000, $400,000 of revenue. In landscape lighting, that's like $1.5 million of revenue. I'm going, where's the problem? Why is she talking about no shows? Why is he saying no show? We just added enough production to add $1 million to your top line. And you're telling me you've got five no shows.
Yeah, it's hard when you're in the business and you're focused on these things. It's easy to see all the problems. And the other thing about, I learned this a long time ago, we're talking home service, but for any business, when you're hiring people who are younger, you're literally teaching them how to work. I had to teach a lot of young people and young from 18 to 23 or 24 how to work, how to have a work ethic Not everybody learns that naturally from their family or from their environment. And I'm okay with that. Like, but that's what a leader has to do.
It's a lot of I'm more of a type of guy that likes to screen for attitude and a little bit of behavior stuff, not do you have experience. I guess it's good if you have experience somewhere, but it's like the resumes, I discard those quite a bit, especially after COVID. If somebody's got three different jobs after COVID, they weren't sitting at home collecting a check. They had three different jobs. One of the restaurants closed down. The other one, wasn't able to pay them. So they went on to the third job. What are you going to do with it? I discard that. I just want to know, are you coachable? Are you teachable? Are you willing to learn? And if we can get that going, then we're in pretty good shape. And if you think about it, to your point too, Melody, that's what we do for a living, problem solvers. That's what we do for a living, right? So I look also and have some things that I like to uncover. Do they answer questions and solve problems like business owners do, technicians? Because I find them to be phenomenally good employees when they understand business a little bit and answer. So we've got things that we do for that are sort of unique, but that's who you're looking for. You're looking for that person that understands business. It's not us versus the big owner and manager and that type of thing. They've been around it. Maybe their mom owned a business. They worked for their uncle's pizza place. If you've been around a business owner, you know damn well we work really hard a lot of times. We work ungodly hours sometimes, and we really truly care about our community and our good employees. And if they can sense that and know that and have been around that, half the battle's over.
Yeah. And I think, again, to the point of building a really amazing culture in the company and getting people to care. I don't know which podcast episode I talked about this in, but I had to let go of my cool at some point. I had just a few employees. It was really hard to be a leader because I felt like I can't be a leader if I only have a few employees, when I was starting out. And I realized, as I got more coaching and read more books, like, I think I just have to fake being what I think a leader is and be enthusiastic at all times and not be sarcastic, even if it's not, gentle, joking sarcasm. I need to present like the best version of myself. And I got really good at that. Not the best version of myself, but you know what I mean? Like being the cheerleader, essentially.
You're right.
Yeah, but it's awesome because that's what people need. It's what makes them feel happy to go to work, even if they're
Right.
having a bad day, or it makes them feel good about going when they know that there's somebody there who's gonna be cheering them on.
Yeah, it's the ABCs of culture is sort of like alignment, belonging, right, and collaborating. Those are three things I think about with culture. I've been talking a lot about core values lately. I'm on a core value kick, and I
Yes.
look at it differently. And you've got to remember, I'm like hyper employee focused, right? Being in the recruiting world.
Same. Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yep.
So core values, it's a weird one because most of us want to be honest and we want to work hard. We've got these ethical types of things we think about. And that's fine. What are your core values? I look at core values as the constitution of my business, in that these are certain things that we have got to do together. And it's all about the employees. I don't need you. It's not for me. It's not for the company. It's not even for the client. Our core values are so that you guys come here and love working here. If one of you steps outside of these core values, you're basically screwing over your fellow employees, and nobody has a right to do that. Our core values are an acronym of PLOW, PLOW, positive attitude. And when I talk about it, you've got to be passionate about it, man. If you're not passionate about your core values, you need new core values or something, or you need something. Or hire somebody. I recommend a core values and culture manager at your company, even if they're a technician.
No, I agree. That's a great trick right there. There is somebody on your team who's gonna be the person who will care a lot because it makes their life better too.
Big time.
Especially if you're a typical visionary business owner or somebody who's forgets to, like, keep the things that you create moving in the company, having an employee take that over and be the person who pushes it continuously, it's really amazing.
Yeah, and especially like in a remote world too that we live in a little bit. A lot of times we have a storage unit. Some of the people, not a big shop anymore. Some of the guys that are starting out or gals. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I'm gonna shift over to the timeline of your life.
a long timeline.
Well, we don't go by age, so you don't have to announce your age here or your social security number. You can do that off camera. But what happened in 2007?
2007 was the 12th year of my wife trying to have a child, and we had one finally after 12 years.
Wow.
So that was pretty darn significant for a lot of different reasons. And one of the things I remember is, and this is honest God truth now. Two things I remember. It was a roller coaster ride, number one. But I remember my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, visiting us from Rhode Island and her husband, and there was a bottle of wine in the middle of the table, and then there was another bottle. And my wife looks at her sister, Erin, and who had two children and already 8 years old, and she says, "Erin, is it worth it? We're like 11 years in. I'm dying. I don't even know if I want to do this." And Erin says to her, "It's by far the best thing that I've ever done, Amy, but I don't recommend it for everyone." So I thought that was a great quote. The other thing that we did, and this still gets me emotional, I guess, years later, 20 years later, people pray for you, people wish you well. My aunt she said, "I felt always cried when I saw Amy at baby showers for the family and stuff. And so one night, we're just kind of laying in bed and, talking a little bit. And I go, "You know what? I go, all this praying and goodwill and all this other stuff." I said, "Give me your hand. We're going to pray together out loud." And we had never done that before. She was pregnant the next week after we did. So that was something that was pretty cool.
And how did having like a kid, I mean, it's obviously something you wanted for a long time, and I have my kids too. How did that change things for you? I mean, it's different for everyone.
Yeah, well, it was the beginning of me growing up because you have to remember. Now I haven't had a drink in like 3 years because I decided I don't want to drink anymore. And I had some health issues too that helped with that. But we were like dating. We were married 12 years. I would go somewhere. She'd drive separate if we went to a party because I might not want to go home right away. We spent our own money kind of the way we wanted. And, she had her own checking. I had, but we certainly did some things together. We vacationed whenever the hell we wanted to. We were partying, man. We were having a good time. And that kind of ended, pretty abruptly after 12 years. We had to move because the old Century home that we decided to buy and fix up was small, but we spent a ton of dough on it. And next thing we know, 1.5 bathroom isn't going to make it anymore because it only took us one night to have my second child, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
for that. Yeah. So all of a sudden, I had two kids after 12 years of trying in a pretty short span of time. So I had to grow up pretty quick, in that party boy stuff had to end relatively quickly. Not that we didn't have fun and do things, and we took them to Disney World and all that stuff, and the zoo and all the good cool things. But I remember when my daughter was only like 8 months old, and my sister took her on a plane to Rhode Island, and I like cried. I'm like, my kid, where's my kid going? And I'm sitting there having a couple drinks going on, and I'm like tearing up, going, I miss her. That wasn't kind of how I was when I was not a father.
Yeah, it's crazy. My brother is about to have his first child, and they've tried for quite a while, and he likes a clean home and all sorts of things that yeah, exactly. I took a video of him talking about how he was going to have a clean home, and then it's gonna be, I'm gonna say, like, 3 months, maybe 2 to 3 months late no, no, the baby has to be walking and playing, right?
Right.
So, a year. We'll go a year forward, and I'm gonna
Oh, yeah.
take that second video, and I'm not gonna forget, and then I'm gonna make a montage.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
It really does change and shift, and I like that you said that you grew up but that was a choice, right?
Yep.
Like, the same for me, I had to grow up when I had, my daughter, so and it makes you more s serious about life, I guess. Life becomes completely different, it's not about us anymore.
Yeah, that's a big thing. You don't have a choice in that matter. I mean, it just isn't.
Well, I will say we do have a choice, and a lot of people don't choose to make it about their you know?
You're right.
We do choose to make it about them. Yeah, not so much that they're spoiled brats, though.
Right. No, no, we can't have that. We cannot
No.
have
And then what happened in 2015?
2015, sort of at the middle of that year, my wife and I, had the cleaning company for about 20 years at that time, and I was coming up on 50, and I'm like, you know what? I think we're getting close to talking about selling this thing. I said, it'll probably take a couple years. What do you think to get it in shape the way I want it to build the value of that asset up? I said, what do you think? She says, yeah, let's go for it. I sold it 3 months later. It was supposed to take us a couple years, and all these stars aligned, and it was just unbelievable how it happened. And in fact, I reached out to Derek Christian, who owned a cleaning company, but in Cincinnati. I'm in Cleveland. He never. I did it through LinkedIn for some reason. I don't know why, and he doesn't do LinkedIn. And so I said, okay, I just wanted to see if he wanted to dance a little bit, do some things. Anyway, so I got a hold of a business broker to find out what even it was worth. And I was like, told the wife, she said, yeah, let's do this guy. And I'm like, all right. So it was a Thursday, and this is like a month and a half later after I tossed that LinkedIn message out, and I get a phone call, and it's Derek. Hey, did you sell your business yet? And if anybody knows Derek, he's like a cage cat. He's all over, and I tell him that all the time. I'm like, no, but I'm signing papers on Saturday with a broker who's going to handle it for me. And it was a Thursday. He goes, I'll drive up it's like a 5 hour drive from Cincinnati. I'll drive up tomorrow, blah, blah. Long story short, he sold his business to Blue Skies. I sold my business to Blue Skies 2 months after that conversation
Wow.
for
And
much more money than the business broker told me my business was worth.
that's great. Yeah. That's interesting because I went through an experience last year of just getting the business valued. And I didn't know there were 5 different ways to value a business, and went through the whole thing, and it was very educational. I'm glad that we did that. Not selling the business, but I like to know what it's worth. I think it's really hard for a lot of entrepreneurs to think in terms of selling because there's so much a part the business is so much a part of their life. And when I sold my first business, I had a complete midlife crisis.
I did too.
Yeah, complete identity crisis because I had been such a workaholic, and it never occurred to me that when you sign a paper handing over your thing to somebody else, your life sudden you have to ask, well, what am I? So what happened for you?
I turned 50. I sold my company, and my wife and I had an extra 4 hours or 5 hours of time together we hadn't had. We were married about 25 years at that time. So I remember going like into the kitchen, and she is doing what she's done for the last 25 years. And Shawn's thinking of Shawn, of course, right? And boy, has that taught me a lot. Hey, baby, what do you want to do? What's going on today? Hey. And finally, after about 4 days of that, she's like, would you just go fricking clean something or fix something? I'm cooking dinner, or I'm doing this. And I swear to you, you could have put me on a lie detector test, and all I heard her say was, I don't need you anymore. That's what I heard her say. At the same time, my daughter, it was 11-ish years old, and I'm no longer coaching her team. She's no longer on my lap. She's no longer needing dad. She's behind a closed door doing her thing. So she didn't need me anymore. And I'm going, I worked my ass off. I sold this thing, and I have nobody here. There's a reason you don't have anybody there. Life goes on for them too. Okay. They're doing their thing. I was a great dad. We did it wasn't that I wasn't there for them, because we did a lot of things. And I believe me, but it was just me going, to your point, who am I? What am I doing here? What's happening to me? And and that evolved into a huge insecurity,
Mhm.
where it was like jealousy of other people, including my wife. What's going on with this guy at work? Who is this guy? I didn't know anything about her work, basically. And it was like, whoa, you have other things going on in your life? Wait a minute.
Right, right.
And I didn't know about that. What's going? And so my brain went crazy, and I'm super insecure. It was an extremely rough, probably 4 years for me, and I needed to go through that because it absolutely crushed me. Got help, had to figure some things out, and it's made me so much of a better human being. It taught me I need to be present. I need to be in the now, and I have worked on that so hard. I now hear when my wife speaks to me and understand what she's saying, and not thinking about something else, or paying somebody, or labor, or how am I going to replace this, or what am I going to do, or how am I going to start that new look, as she's having conversation with me. My kids hear me. I have an hour and a half conversation with my son outside on a deck, not a 2-minute conversation. It's been life changing. It's an experience that was super difficult. Thank God that I went through.
Yeah, I feel the same. I'm really glad that I had that experience. I think I was 30 something. I wasn't too far into my 30s. It was 2013 or 12 when I sold it. And no, my son was about 2, so it was 13 years ago, 2 or 3. And my husband had been like, in engineering school. He was about to graduate. And so he was like, right now would be a great time for you to go and do the art and creative things that you've always wanted to do, but you couldn't because you had to work so hard. And now, I can pick up that slack because we had been a one income household when he was in school. And I loved that idea in theory. And then, when it came down to it, I also felt not jealous. I felt resentful because
Yeah,
I felt like I had been tricked into becoming a housewife
yeah,
and a stay at home mom and a housewife, which, by the way, is the hardest job in the world that I've ever had for that 1 year. It is I don't know how I was more busy then than I am in general. So please don't think
and
I'm ever
exhausted a lot of times.
yeah, it's a lot. And then there were a couple deaths that year that I had to go through. It was just like a lot.
Yeah,
And I'm very glad that I did it. It's the time when I started calling myself a recovering workaholic because I went from all work to no work. And I've always kind of tried to keep that in my head because I definitely still go through times where I'm a total workaholic, but I try to remember not to be, but just to be conscious of these things. And I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's a time for it sounds like for you too, where I had to grow my emotional intelligence. I had to work on things that were really uncomfortable and painful, but getting through that, it brought me to my next level.
yeah. It's sort of a spirituality type of thing with me. I had to become aware of things. Awareness was really important to me. Perception became extremely important to me because it got skewed when I was letting my brain think things that weren't reality, right? And I have to remind myself my thoughts are not reality. Okay, they just plain and simple aren't. And I have conversations with my son about this because he's kind of like young Sheldon, super smart kid, and so his brain works a lot like mine. Not that he's smarter than me, but we've got the hamster wheel, both of us. And I have to make sure and like I use this example, and excuse the crudeness of this, but it's helpful. And I always tell my son, here's proof that my thoughts are not real. I think right now there's 3 young, beautiful young ladies that can't wait to get to me. Now I have news for you. That ain't reality, son, okay? But I can think that. So
Yeah.
that's proof that my thoughts are, just to put it in simple terms for my teenage young son. But that is it. But I would hear things that were not said and start going, "Oh, she said, well, she doesn't need me." That's what I heard. And things, I'll be watching a game on TV, and my poor wife will go upstairs and touch up paint on stuff, and she'll say, "Hon, I'm going upstairs real quick just to touch the room up." And all I heard, because I'm watching TV, a sporting event, is I'm a lazy bum. That's all I hear, and I have to be aware that that is literally not what she said or what she
Yeah.
meant, and that's how my brain works, though.
Oh, I think so many of us are like that. I'm like that. My husband and I definitely I mean, in marriage in general, as I say in the example, we both speak American English, but he speaks American male English and I speak American female English. And so there are often times when we are just not on the same page. We hear things that the other person has not said. And it's really perception, our own, all the things. It's all of our stuff, right? And the awareness is key. You're right, but it's not fun. I will say that to have to grow in those ways. It's uncomfortable,
It is.
but I don't know. I don't know about you. I enjoy the challenge of uncomfortable growth in a way.
Well, I'm geared, and you may be too. I'm geared where gray is not very fun for me. I don't like balance. I don't like even. I don't. I like either I'm on top of the mountain or I'm in hell. That is life to me, and I need that to feel alive for some reason. I
Same.
don't. Is it okay?
Oh
So you
yeah,
get it.
no.
Gray is
I
horrible.
100%. Yeah, gray. That's funny that you call it that gray because I call it gray too. It's like the world is color, that I need the
Yeah,
color. And if there's no color, it's just gray.
yeah. I
And
need Technicolor, man.
yeah, me too. And so that's the thing about it is like
Can
when
be
you go,
dangerous. I mean, that can be dangerous if you've got a
if
brain
you're
that can
Kanye
feel a
West.
little bit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's things you got to keep boundaries on, man, and that's You have
Yeah.
to do those things. And ego is a big thing too. I mean, the ego just is that thing that's trying to protect you from harm. And the only thing that keeps me from other human beings is my ego, because my ego is self and it's me. And so that keeps me from you. That keeps me from serving others. And the only way I know how to get out of that is to serve other people and think about how I can help other people. Because then I get stuck on Shawn Day. And that is never a good thing for Shawn to be thinking about Shawn.
Yeah, you're so right about that. I struggle with ego. I feel like I have a show of not a lot of ego, and also it's different ages, but I think of it as like 14-year-old Melody and 5-year-old Melody. That's my ego. All of these things that I'm fighting against constantly, but then it comes back to the awareness because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to hold on to things. I don't want the ego to control me and how I act or how I treat people or how I perceive people.
Right.
So that's
I,
also,
w- I would line up 100 people that know you, and I would bet a lot of my assets in life that they're going to say that you're a very giving person.
well, I am a giver,
Yeah, for sure.
but that's ego too, because I
Yep,
like
it can
helping,
be. It can
right?
be. You're right.
It's addictive to help people. I love and sometimes it's at the expense of other people. Like my family, if my family's doing good and everything seems fine and stable, I'm like, they're fine. I mean, I grew up like that too. So it's not like I mean, I had a model for that behavior, but I really try to be aware of that because it's so easy to look and see where the most need is and want to help or fix. And that's not always it's very hard to be a giver, I will say that.
It is. And, you had made a really good point about our generation, and you work hard, just put your nose to the grindstone and go, 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 and this and that and the other. And it's like, you can't control everything. So that is not true, man. In fact, you can't control most everything. You can do the right things at the right time for the right reasons, and that's about where it ends. I mean, everything else is up to the universe, God, and people. There's way too many freaking people in this world to think I can control every event in my life, or most events in my life.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't feel like well, I'm unaware of the parts of myself that I think that I can control things. There are times when I think that, but I also feel like I live my life as if nothing is controllable in a way. Again, it's that all up or all, it's the
Yeah,
high and
yeah,
low.
yeah,
And I guess it depends on where I'm at in life and where my
right.
brain is at.
Yeah, that can be day by day sometimes, or week by week. One of the other things too that I learned is that we tend to try to compare ourselves to others a lot of times. Who's got $5 million business, who's got the $10 million business, and two things with that I've learned. Number one is a very good friend of mine does the books for an awful lot of these guys that are saying they're $5 million companies, and he'd be, ain't true, man. A lot of stuff that you see is not true. And he never names names or anything like that, but he just says, believe me. That's number one. Number two is the two mistakes of comparing yourself with other people. There's two main things that are going to make you lose that game every day of the week. Number one, we never compare ourselves to others when we're on a high roll, right? It's always when we feel shitty about ourselves or our life, then we look at other people. So you're going to lose that every day of the week. Number two, I'm comparing how I feel inside on how you look on the outside.
Ooh,
Then you're
that's
going to
good.
lose that battle every single day of the week.
Yeah, that's so true. I really try to not live in comparison, and yet that's where my brain would naturally, if I'm not careful, that's where my brain will go. And so I try to not be able basically I just try to not see anybody and what they're doing so
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
nothing to compare to.
right.
Because there's definitely been times when I have been really I didn't even realize how focused I was on that comparison. And
Awareness again.
it's the awareness, and also, not only the comparison is painful, but it makes you feel shittier because you're
Yeah,
never yeah, and
you're
so
never going to win it, man. Never.
yeah, you're absolutely right with that. How do you work on that? Because you're in the business world still with your company and you deal with a lot of business owners. How do you work on continuing to work on the ego, be aware, all of that kind of stuff?
I talk about it with business owners. We started, this is like one of those things that have been on a shelf for 2, 3 years. So we started this thing for clients called the Growth Hub. It's a client portal. And the first couple things are perception and ego. When I go speak, I'm asked to speak about recruiting. The first 15 minutes of every presentation I do is about ego and perception. So I talk about it with other people because it's a common thing we all have. And there's not a human being in the world that doesn't have some sort of an ego. We all do, and we all have perception. Your idea of looking down on the ground and seeing the number 6, I don't see that if I'm standing on the other side of that number. I see a number 9. Okay, we both can have different truths and be right. That's a complex thing sometimes, and it's a cool thing sometimes. So I talk a lot about that, and I talk about why don't we walk over on the other side of what that person's saying instead of battling them on what we see. They've got different experiences. They've got different things they've gone through. They're looking at different things than you see. Go over there, and I bet you might see what they see. Just learn and open up to that a little. So I talk a lot about that, and it's super good for me because it keeps me aware of that, and it keeps me in there understanding and reminding myself of it all the time. Ego, perception, how can I help others understand and work through that? And it helps me do it.
Yeah. I mean, ego is so huge in business. I mean, a lot of businesses are built on ego. And to have these conversations, I think it's actually pretty rare in the outer business world. Like we talk about authenticity and vulnerability. But what I've found in business is that a lot of people, they do the work in a very superficial way. They do the work of being growth minded in a business way, only for business. They don't actually go deep and do the inner work. And that's a huge, I think, a huge issue in business. I think we could all do a lot better if people were more, I mean, okay, yeah, I guess all humans would be better if they did the inner work.
Yeah.
Yes, there's been,
Yep.
so I guess I'm just speaking what,
And it's just, it's to me, ego isn't about going like this and that stuff. It's more about it's always fear. And so you don't necessarily have to look at ego as the biggest, baddest, the manliest or the bitchiest that goes through. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that are afraid to go to that next level or can't figure it out and can't talk about that. And then they're the ones that are posting I'm a $2 million company when they're not. Those are the people that I want to help out. The guy that's or gal that's doing 5 or 10 million, I don't have a lot of help for. You're making it happen. There's other coaches and stuff out there that'll take you to another level if that's what you're looking for. I like the person that's struggling. I like that person that's struggling so I can help them because it helps me and it helps them. And hopefully we can get it through it together and grow.
yeah. This podcast is sponsored by homeserviceva.com. Did you know, according to the SCORE Association, 68% of small business owners spend over 20 hours a week doing admin tasks? Imagine what you could accomplish if you could get back that time. Well, that's where we come in. We match entrepreneurs like you with virtual collaborators who understand your vision and help bring it to life faster than you can on your own. Visit homeserviceva.com to learn more or to apply to work with us today. The people who are open to that growth and just don't understand the path, I love helping those kinds of people too, because I was one of those people. And I love being, I think when you can have like deep conversations with people like we're having right now, we're making actually an impact and a change little by little that hopefully would be exponential in the future. But I'm an optimist. I believe that we can have impact. We can, in business, that's not just money, but all sorts of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, we with our company, Higher Lead Chill, we made a decision when we broke away from Blue Skies, and Dan and I were talking, and Michael Gregory is now in. It's we worked so hard. We came from investors going profit money, profit money, profit money, grow, 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 to we didn't even use the word profit. We were, what's our business model and how do we get awesome at servicing our client? That's all we focused on for a year. And we didn't lose one client in January. In the recruiting game, that is unheard of. Okay. So our attrition is absolutely freaking phenomenal. And, and I'm proud of that. And it's good. And that's what we wanted. And our business model works. So now we know we can make profit and grow that profit and grow the top line and all that stuff. And it's happened.
Yeah, I think people usually do it the other way. There's a lot of people who are great at the marketing and sales, and they can talk about the thing, and
Absolutely.
they're not good at the customer journey, the operation, the delivery of
The
what they're
employee
doing.
journey.
The employee journey, the journey of anybody going through their company because they're looking at the front end, and I don't
That's what we
know.
do.
I will say, I want to believe that's not sustainable, and yet I keep seeing businesses that, you know, continue on like that.
I can give you some insight on that, almost data on that. There may be exceptions, and you might be right on a few that are doing that. Most of them are not don't have the margins though, and the reason is because they haven't figured out the employee. So Platt and I told him years ago we were still at Blue Skies. I said, you know, Minneapolis Window Cleaning is a big window cleaning company. We were looking to hire 40 technicians. You know, it's a big company. I'm like, you've got to spend a fortune on recruiting. You're spending a fortune on marketing. What are you going to, who the hell you think are going to go out and do all the work?
Right.
This $1,000 a month, $500 a month, and you want what? This is not happening. And he's like, we argued about it. And he, to his credit and to my fortunate ability, I guess, and passion about what I was believing, he did it. We spent $40,000 in just boosting and sponsoring job ads, but we did over $200,000 in the month of June. So it paid off. So Dan has learned, and we've done videos on this. When he's looking at somebody's books, he will tell you the data behind the ones that are focusing on investing in recruiting and boosting and sponsoring, not marketing. Okay. The ones that are putting 10 grand a month into marketing and $500 into recruiting are not growing their business. The ones that are focused on the capacity side first, then the marketing side are the ones that are growing with big margins. That's
Right.
just the data.
Okay, well, that's very helpful because I focused so much on the back end of my business and making it really good and employees and culture, all of that customer journey. So it's good to know that as we scale and grow, that the margins will be good. I'm holding you to that,
Please do. Please
but they
do.
will. I That makes me feel more optimistic about business in
You're on the right
general.
path for sure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate hearing that. What do you wish that you had known at the beginning of your business journey that you know now?
Ooh. One, the employee side is the most important thing in business, period, end of story. I wish I would have gotten a coach. I wasn't one of those that believed I knew it all. And we've talked about this, right? Going to conventions wasn't super comfortable for me. Debbie Sardone called me years in like 2004. You got to go to Vegas to the. I'm like, I'm not a convention. You've got to go. You know, I'm like, I went and it was a game changer, right? And then talking to other people. I wish I would have known you could build relationships with your competitors and learn from each other and have each other's back and do what we're doing right now. And that's talking about crazy things that we all have in common that we struggle with: perception, ego, recruiting, whatever it is. I wish I would have known those things instead of isolating myself from that early on, because I would have probably saved, I used to say tens of thousands of dollars. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I would have grown my business much quicker than what.
Well, and also the longer that you're in business without that, like I found it very hard because I spent about a decade without that community and just trying to figure it out the hard way on my own in my little isolated business world. And then when I started getting good coaching or even just being in industry events or whatever, I heard all the things, but my mindset was that old school mindset, and it was always a fight to get me on board, and it still takes me a long time to I'm not a quick implementer, often because I have that thing, the experience in the back of my mind of, this is why that won't work, you know?
Right, right.
And then you get new kids in here who have like a year in business or less, or they're smarter and they start with coaching right away and they shoot forward because they don't have the baggage. At least that's what I think it is. I'm not sure that that's the reason, but I think it is.
I personally know people that are like that, that are younger people that seem to do really, really well, but they got involved with Conquer or whatever, and they did it the right way. And the internet wasn't even that big in 2004 and early 2000s
Oh,
when
no.
so it wasn't like you were open to that as much as you are today either.
I don't remember any group on the internet in when I bought my company. I think it was like 2004 or 3, and there was nothing for me there. And even up until I joined the coaching group Conquer, that's when I really found my people, like people who took business seriously, who weren't just, trolls on the internet. It felt
Right.
very, and I paid more than I've ever spent in my life on myself. It was so scary to spend that money, and it was worth every penny. And it just 10x'd my mindset, my business, everything about my development. But I'm very proud of myself because I could have stopped at any point. I could have let my old mindset win. I see a lot of old timers, as you do too, who just cannot adapt. And it's hard, but I keep moving forward, just like you. And
Yeah, I'm curious. I've got a question for you. We use the word mindset a lot now, right? And remember the paradigm shift used to be big about 20 years ago. We don't even hear that anymore, but that was like a big thing. Paradigm shift,
I wasn't
right?
alive 20 years ago, so I never heard that. So yeah,
So my thing with mindset, I'm a big believer in action. Okay. I can have the best mindset. I can go to a freaking convention and I've got a great mindset after that convention. If I don't just do the right things, right time, for the right reasons, I don't care what your mindset is, okay? I know this, though, to be true for almost everybody that I talk to about this. If you try to do the right things at the right time and check those things off daily and do it for the right reasons, it's an amazing, you can have a really shitty attitude while you're doing it. You can be exhausted while you're doing that. And it's an amazing thing what happens to your mindset after a month of doing that, after a week of doing that. Okay, so where are you going to be if you do that for an entire quarter? To me, action is first, mindset will follow. That's one thing I have to say about
I love that you say that. I am not an action first person. I want to be, but I have to convince myself first that, well, because there's a lot of fear that goes into things. And also, like in my business journey, I've really had to think about two things: the business, but also my family and how my business is going to affect my family. And so a lot of times I've made choices that were probably not, and I've talked to other women especially about this, that were probably not the most expansive for the business because at that time in my life, I was momming it or something, But also because I've done that, it creates a backlog of history in my head that tells me that, so there's stories that you have to get through. I think that I agree with you that action, it works, period. And I love when I used to go to the quarterly masterminds in Nashville, and I still go to one in Miami now, which is warmer.
it. Yes, it
But
is.
what I loved about that is seeing how much I'd accomplished in the previous quarter, what my goals were, getting really action oriented. I think the difference for me is I have a support around me. That's literally why my company exists,
Right, right,
because
right,
I know my weaknesses. And so I set us up to move forward no matter where my mindset is. And
right.
it's a trick that I've created. I trick myself into doing lots of things,
Yes, yes,
but I like the concept of fixed mindset versus growth mindset,
right,
which I think that came out in a book by Carol Dweck like 20 years ago. So it's definitely been around a while, but it's definitely a thing of now, right?
right.
But I don't want people to give up because there's a lot of different personalities who do business. And if you're not an action taker, like you still can be. It just might take you longer to get to the
Yeah,
action part.
absolutely. And it might be that you can't do that for whatever reason. I mean, I think all of us have looked at a phone going, how can I make this phone call? How can I deal with this phone call? I think all of us have experienced that somewhere in our life. And you might not make that phone call. Okay. I remember I knew I had to apologize to somebody, but it wasn't because necessarily of what I did. It was I got screwed over, but I reacted really bad. And I knew that's a hard one to say sorry when you got screwed over, but you really overreacted in a very bad way. And it's like, yeah, I can't kill you and punch you. And that's just, and it took me a month to do that. So that's okay. It's not that you have to do the biggest, baddest, hardest thing every single day. There's the tiny habits, right? The book, The Tiny Habits, right? That's powerful.
Yeah, they really are. And coaching is what allowed me to understand the concepts, to have different frameworks to be able to kind of move forward quicker than I ever had before, and then to create my own frameworks that work for my brain. Because not everything is going to work for that's one thing I wish I had known about business is that, I read Getting Things Done probably 15, 20 years ago because I wanted to get things done. And I feel, I don't know this for sure, but a lot of people who write books on how to get things done might be more type A than type ADD. And so when you're a person who's type ADD like me, and you read a book like that and you desperately want it to work for you, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And so I wish I had understood that I can take things from everything. And if it doesn't work for me, it doesn't mean I'm a failure necessarily. Yeah. Ooh, we've gone all over the place, which has been really fun. I'm going to bring us back by doing the Misfit Minute. Here we go. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Introvert or extrovert?
I think an extrovert.
More time or more money?
Time.
Type A or type ADD?
ADD.
Saver or spender?
Spender.
Workaholic or recovering workaholic?
Recovering workaholic.
Adventure or relaxing?
Relaxing.
Things or experiences?
Experiences.
Phone calls or text?
Phone calls.
Plan ahead or go with the flow?
I'm in between on that one right now.
You got to choose one.
Go
Remember.
with the flow.
There we go.
No, I plan ahead. Plan ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's whatever is your first instinct. It doesn't matter
Plan
what
ahead.
we.
Yes. It was plan
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Hands on or delegate?
Delegate.
Compete or collaborate?
Compete.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Quick thinker or overthinker?
Overthinker.
Well, you're done. You're a winner. You did it.
Are you keeping data on all that for all your guests and see where it
No,
goes?
but my brain keeps some data, and my brain tells me that when I interview people who are a little younger, they value money more than time. Everybody
Yeah,
who's older
sure.
than like 45 has said time over
Right.
money.
Yeah.
So there's certain things that people say, like phone call or text, kind of age-based, but it's not
Yeah,
surprising.
it's weird. Those are cool questions because like it's hard to say. It's hard to because I'm an overthinker. At least I was right on that one, right? It's like I text more than I phone call, but I'd rather. It's like if it's people I really like, I want to have a conversation. I don't want to text. If it's people I'm just kind of I need to get shit done, I want to text. You
See,
know what
I'd
I mean?
rather just be face to face, and I didn't
Yeah.
give us that option. So,
Right.
but yeah, no, I don't know. I think it tells me a lot about people very quickly.
Yeah.
And someday you're going to get some sweet thing in the mail from me
I'm
randomly when
sure.
I
Heck
finally
yeah.
get my act together. People who said savory are going to get savory, and some people are going to get sweet.
Ooh, I'm
But
glad I said sweet. I think I said sweet.
you did,
Oh,
yeah.
good. Yay.
Well, thank you so much, Shawn. This was really
You're
fun, as I knew
welcome.
it would be. It went deep, as I knew it would. And you're just one of my favorite humans. I know I say that about every human that I know, but it's because I choose well. So
Right, right. Yes, you do.
thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Listen, Bisfit, if you believe in the mission of this podcast, I need you to like and subscribe right now. Pause this, go find the podcast. You might already be there, which is easy. Just go like and subscribe. And if you really, really believe in it and you want Bisfits to unite and change the whole business world, please rate it. Rating is the best way to get the word out to attract more like-minded misfits like you and me so that we can overthrow the takers of this world who currently dominate the business universe. Now, I know I sound like I'm some courageous lady of business. I am not. I can't do this alone and I don't want to. I need you, and we need a coalition of fellow Bisfits. So do it now. The quicker we take action, the quicker we can change our business world. Now let's go do great things, and I will see you next week. I'm a misfit. 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 I'm a misfit.